Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Power of Women in Insurance podcast. My name is Teresa Kitchens, and I am your host. And I'm thrilled. I'm always thrilled because we have so many amazing women in this industry. But today I have one of my very best friends with us, Joan Curtis, with MVP Insurance in Oklahoma. So, Joan, welcome back to the
Thank
podcast.
you. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Well, Joan has been a guest before. She was actually, I think, one of my first guests on the podcast back when we got everything started. And we're really excited because she introduced me to a book that we're going to be talking about today. And she introduced me to this book probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. And she literally, I think, texted me and was like, oh my gosh, this is the best book. It's amazing. It's totally changed my life. You got to check it out. And at first I was kind of like, the book's called Who Not How, just for everybody out there. It is by Dan Sullivan. Dan Sullivan is a business coach with Strategic Coach. I can't remember exactly, Strategic Coach Partners or something like that. But and he's not insurance specific. He's kind of every industry, just to let everybody know. But when Joan came to me and she's like, oh my gosh, I read this book, Who Not How, I thought, oh my goodness, it's not that I can't let things go, but at the same point, I got to make sure everything's going well. I mean, I heard the word delegation. I heard how to be able to delegate, and there's a lot of good things about it, but it terrified the bejeebers out of me because I was like, oh, but I have to still make sure we do it right. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I get it.
So, but through the book, I was able to learn a lot about how to use your who's to be able to make sure that you get things done, not your hows. So, Joan, thank you for this book, and thank you for coming on the podcast with
Thank
me.
you. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited that you love the book. He has the two other books. I know you're doing several of these with all of his books, and I honestly, if you're going to pick up this book today, make sure you just get all three because you won't want to just stop there.
Yeah.
You're going to keep going, keep plugging through.
And they're all three very different, but they're all three very connected.
They're
So they all work together really, really well.
Right.
So if you do get these, they're not in any specific order specifically. No. There are three books in this series that they cross-reference a lot. There's Who Not How. Yes. There's also The Gap and the Gain.
Yes.
And then there is 10X is easier than 2X. Yeah. So all of them are great options. I started with Who Not How. That was the first one I started. It's not a huge book for those people who get scary out there. It's not. It's only about 200 pages or 187 pages with the acknowledgments.
It's on Audible.
And it's on Audible.
All the things. So if you're somebody who just wants to listen to it, in fact, I listened to it several times just because there's so much stuff that it's kind of like scripture. You go back and you read it and you're like, I didn't see that before. So it's really fun. So yeah.
And if you do the Audible, so the way the book is written, okay, and this is a great example of Who Not How, right? Yes. So Dan Sullivan, like we mentioned, does run strategic coaching, okay, his coaching program for any business out there, okay? They have a whole coaching program. But he knew he had a great program, but he didn't want to have the time. He's not an author. He didn't feel like he could really write a book very well, evidently. So the Audible actually goes through this whole thing that he connected with Dr. Benjamin Hardy, and Dr. Benjamin Hardy is obviously an author. So he connected with them. And then his who ended up becoming Dr. Benjamin Hardy to be able to write these books. He writes all of the books for Dan Sullivan. And so it's really, really about finding the right people to be able to do the right jobs rather than holding us back from the things we don't want to or can't, or it's not in our zone of genius or our passion to do. That way we get to do all the things that are our passion. Right. But at the same point, we get to bring in other people that's their passion to be able to still accomplish the same goals. And that's kind of the nutshell of the concept. But this exact book is the perfect example of that as well, which I find to be just amazing.
Yes, it is. Well, and I think too, the other part is like people get hung up on being the person. Like I have to do it all right. And if I don't do it, it's not going to be done right. You know what?
Yep.
That is how you die early. Like that is how you stress yourself out, because there are people who can do things better than you can in a shorter amount of time, or even as 80% as good as you can. And they're going to save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in time, money, energy, all the things, and sickness, all the things, because you're actually allowing yourself to collaborate with other people. And so that's the big thing about this book, is literally about collaboration and creating that community over competition mindset that I really, that's kind of a core value for me. And so when I read this, that's why I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, Teresa, you need to read this, because these are things I've done in my business for years, but it like fine tuned a lot of that. And it honestly gave me permission to be great at what I do, and to allow other people to be great at what they do, because we do need each other. We can't do this by ourselves. We really can't.
And one thing I really love about the book is that he really talks about finding people who have that zone of genius that they're really, really good at. And there's so many things. I think if we go into business ownership, or even if we do things, like you said, we feel like we have to control it because we have the vision of what we want, right? And we get so upside down about this vision of what we want that if it's not done exactly the way we want it done, we think somehow it's wrong. But the reality is, people's zone of genius, a lot of times they do it way better than we do it. And they really bring new things, different things, new passion to it. I know, like videos, I can record videos all day long, but the editing and the promotion and all these things, because everybody talks about video and business, and that's one of the things I'm struggling with right now. But I don't mind being on camera. I just don't like all the other stuff, and I don't have time for all the other stuff that goes along with it. So I know that I need to find somebody, because video needs to be a part of our business. I need to find somebody who can do that video editing and promotion and all the different pieces that go along with it, because it's not my passion. And I don't mind making the videos, and I feel like I'm decent at it because I don't mind being on camera. But at the same point, I do feel like the other parts of it are not in my zone of genius. And so I think we need to really pay attention to that. Well,
and I think that's a great example, because the more you have on your plate, the less you're available. And so it takes you 6 hours to edit a video, where it might take somebody else 30 minutes. And
true.
It could be the exact same outcome at the end, but it's literally saving you so much time. And you are able to do the things that you're great at. You are great on camera, and you are great at leading and doing all the social media stuff. But to sit down and have to edit every single video, it's almost like, you said it, you're like, oh, I don't have time. Well, it's funny, we make time for what we want to do. And so you make time for the videos, and you make time for the podcast because you enjoy it. But if you don't enjoy it, that's probably a sign that you need to find a who. Because for me, bookkeeping, oh my gosh, I would rather give birth to a camel. Honestly, I would
give birth to a camel. You got me up.
Because and my business partner Brent, operations all day long. That's what he's great at. And I always joke that I come in and I turn on the light switch, and it's like magic. The lights come on. It's because he paid the bill. Like, he does that. And I'm able to do what I'm great at, which is sales, marketing, communication, customer facing things. So it's interesting that we were able to do that years ago and see where we could build a business together. And now we took on a third partner. So we actually have a third partner, and her deal is production. Like, she's overseeing all the production and making sure the numbers are happening. She's killing it. And that gave me time to do more of what I'm great at. So it's amazing. Once you actually get this concept, you're just going to be like, oh, that's why everybody else looks rested and cute.
They don't look frazzled and, exhausted every moment of the day. I totally get it. And I think we do. We push ourselves so hard, so many different directions. And I think especially as women, that we feel like we have to manage the space. I don't know. It's that momness. I don't know. It's that concept. Like, even when my husband wants to do something, sometimes I'm like, oh, you're not going to cook that chicken well. You're not going to cook that chicken the way I want it cooked, right? Or whatever. I don't know. We have to be able to release those things, but also realize that those people, number one, they can get better at it. Number one, if it's something you are delegating to somebody on your team, or bringing your other team members into the fold to be able to take care of, they will get better at it. Number one. And number two, they would have different feedback, different ideas, different genius in different spaces. And I mean, I've found the last couple of years, and I've been very open about this on my podcast, and Joe knows when I went through it, the process of I signed up for an outside service center. And that outside service center was not a good avenue for me. No. And then I came back and I had to rebuild my agency. I had to rebuild all my people, because that service center kind of took over all your people. That was part of the contract. But then I thought about it. Do I want these people back? Because I was wanting to use a service center because my people were C players. Yeah. And with that, I didn't want that anymore. So I needed to change me. I needed to change what I was doing. And one of the things I've done is I've brought on some really amazing team members in a really, really great way. And I've been able to say, hey, I want you to take it, right? And I know so many agency owners or salespeople who can't get out of their own way because they're constantly having to be in the middle of everything. Yes. And by watching the team members grow, it's been really fulfilling for me. I mean, over the past 2 years, so fulfilling. And it's been awesome.
It's funny because I've always said, if we're paying you and I have to help you do your job, then you're making too much money. Like, that's not going to work for me. I can't pay you and then my time is now being leveraged. I'm worth $500 an hour and you're worth $20 an hour. So, and it's like, I need you to do the job. I need to be able to hand it to you and you run with it. And I think the other part of this book is it's going to help you realize you need to figure out who your who is and what you need. People will start with how, like, okay, how am I going to grow my business?
True.
You know? And then they get focused on the details and then they're like, oh, this is exhausting. I can't do this. And so if you have a who, like for you, you're great with a virtual agency. You're probably one of the best agents that I know running your agency virtual. There's a lot of people who are like, I can't, me included. I have to have an office to go to because I've got 3 dogs and 4 kids and oh my goodness, like I can't do anything. Even during the day when I'm working from home, my kids will come in and out and be like, hey mom, I need, and I'm like, I'm working. I'm on the phone.
Yep.
You know, so I have to have a place to go. Even during COVID, my entire staff was like, oh no, we want to come in the office. I can't be at home with my kids anymore. Like we got to get to the office. So it's just understanding how your brain works, how you learn, how you want to grow, and seeing other people do it. A lot of times they'll be like, well, I want to grow like that. Well, you may not be gifted in that area. You may not have the ability to do those things. So not everybody's meant to be on camera, even though
that's true.
Everybody has to do video, but not everybody's great at it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means you need to learn to leverage other people to help you do it well. So it's
absolutely
because everything has to have a return of investment. Like it costs money to do this thing called business, a lot of money. And so
a lot of time and a lot of time from you being able to do other things.
Yes.
I know that a lot of us, there's just things we can't do as much of, maybe, but it also allows us to not do things, right? So I think a lot of, especially working professionals that have families and so forth, they pay to have somebody come over and clean their house, right? Like every couple of weeks, right? Like I don't want to clean my house. I just don't want to.
That's a great example. I actually paid somebody to come clean my house and then I fired them. It was so stressful for me because I'm going to clean my house before they could come clean my house. And I was like,
that's true.
What the hell am I paying them if I have to spend the time doing this? And I just couldn't do it. So I just stopped. And I was like, you know what? I will live with the mess till I can deal with it because I don't have the capacity. Really, for me, it's about capacity. I don't have the capacity to be concerned about what somebody I pay an hourly wage to thinks about my house. But it was throwing me off my game. So I knew that at that point I had to make a different decision. So you guys know my secret. I'm kind of a slob, but I'm cute. So that's nobody's gonna know but us, just us.
It's our house, right? The door.
Yeah, that's right.
Nobody's walking through my house unless I ask them.
That's why we're facing.
So we're good.
Wall. We're not facing out there. We're facing this wall. This is the reality you're gonna see. So
Yep, absolutely. You don't want to see what's on the floor behind me or on my desk. You don't want to see around
right behind this computer. Like literally, I have my empty protein shake. I have it's all thing. So so it's exciting to see that, like for you were able to take this book and change things and be able to ask different questions too. I love the fact that you can ask different questions when you're asking who, not how. It's and
I think whenever my brain goes in a certain direction and I think, okay, we need to grow or we need to develop because one of the things with this redoing of my team and everything was we've gotten into the CRM systems. We've really dived deeper into a structured organization than we were before. Before it was like we had structure, but I can honestly say I wasn't really super detail oriented about us following it. Right. Because I'm so ADD. I'm like, okay, just make it work. It's okay. Just shake it a little bit. It'll work one way or another. But you can't really do that as much, right? Especially when you're bringing on people.
For me to get me to be able to focus like that, it's just not going to happen.
Right. Well, I know that whenever my brain says, how am I going to do that? This book has actually now my other side of my brain, whatever we want to call it, triggers, no, not no, Teresa, not how, who are you going to delegate
Yes.
it to? And I know that whenever I have those thoughts, like this year's growth, how are we going to grow? Right. Oh, no, how am I going to empower my team to do the things that are going to be able to grow? So who do I need to put in the positions?
Yes.
What do we need to change? Those types of things to
Mm-hmm.
allow my who to be able to be the person who is doing these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that for me, whenever my brain says the word how, and I'm talking about the business,
Mm-hmm.
my brain automatically says, stop,
Warning.
reevaluate.
Yeah.
Exactly. Warning, Will Robinson, warning. And maybe wrong generation. I don't know if
Okay.
everybody else knows
No,
what that means,
totally
but
my generation. Yeah.
yeah. So danger, Will Robinson, like just a big danger,
Yeah.
right? And I I think whenever we read books like that that change our psyche, that means it's a really good book.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but it's like, how many books have you read that you don't even think about twice?
Yeah.
And here we are, what, 2 years later, and we're still talking about this book. So it's definitely something people need to read. And I think, honestly, personally, I'm a mother of four. I'm recently widowed. My husband passed away in May of 24. And so my life is very different. And it's all about who right now. I remember, like, literally buying a car for myself so I could give my son my car because I don't have somebody to call and say, hey, he's on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, my life is now very different. And so when you think about who, during the time after my husband passed away, I had 5 months. I was home with my kids and getting things done with the estate and all the things. And my business partners were running the agency and getting it done, and I didn't miss a paycheck. And
Yeah.
because we've done the work on the who for so long, that now it's benefiting me with all the different levels of, it's not just for business, it's for personal
Right.
as well, relationships and all the things. And I'm not everybody's who. That's the other thing, is you got to be careful
Yes.
not to get yourself in this like needs based mentality. It's like, I need to be needed. No, I do not. I am very
Yes.
happy by myself. I don't know if I'll ever get married again. None of the things, because I'm like, I kind of like that I'm not responsible for other people. So
Yep.
with that being said, you need to ask yourself why you're doing things, because if there's someone else who could do it better, let them do it, because
Yeah.
it's just not worth your time. You have great things inside of you that need to be done, and you're not doing it because you're busy doing stuff you shouldn't be doing.
Well, and that's that whole concept of zone of genius, right? It's the
Mm-hmm.
things that we're passionate about, the things that we want to do, the things that we're good about, the
Mm-hmm.
things that get us up out of bed
Right.
in the morning, right?
Right.
There's so many things I think that we do as a society that, or just in any job, that I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people just, we always talk about it, right? Like a lot of people talk about, oh, I don't want to go to work. I mean, there are memes all over the internet about it. I don't want to go to work today. I can't
Yeah.
people today. I can't blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
There's all of these. It's a cultural phenomenon, really.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just want to go to bed. Oh, I just want to, stay in my
Mm.
jammies all day long. There's like a cultural phenomenon around
The depression
people who are
culture.
just honestly
Yeah.
miserable, not wanting
Horrible.
to do the things that they're doing.
Yeah, that's true.
And
it weighs
and
you
they're
down. Yeah,
and
totally.
they're outside of their zone of genius because
Mm-hmm.
they are being forced to do things that they don't want to do, that they don't feel good at, or they
Mm-hmm.
feel like they're struggling. And I know that as a business owner, I feel like, because I don't have business partners,
Yeah.
and I feel like having to learn this piece, having to learn that piece, having to do this. And when I was a young business owner, and I've been in business now, this year's gonna be 22 years, but when I'm there, I cannot, when I was back in that day when we just didn't have any money and I was just like, no, we can't hire a bookkeeper. No, we can't hire this person. I have to do this and I have to do this. But I felt like I was swimming through mud constantly because I
Mm-hmm.
was constantly having to do things that I didn't enjoy, didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
do,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't have a passion for. And I
Yeah.
and I remember just really feeling handicapped because I
Yeah.
didn't know what I didn't know, doing things I wasn't really good at or even knew how to do well. I'd never, there's being a business owner, especially in the independent space, there's nobody there to teach you how to do it unless you reach out to other people.
Yeah,
So,
I was gonna
but
say
then
there
there's
are,
this,
but you have to find them.
but you have to find them or you have to pay them. And sometimes you just
Mm-hmm.
can't, but by being able to partner up, and I love what this book was really about because a couple of the things that they were like, find creative ways to involve the who's, that if this is like Dan Sullivan, right? Like, I'm sure he embraced the author. And when the author came to him and said, hey, you've got a good program, let's put it into books. He was like, yes, I've been wanting to do that. But it also benefited Benjamin Hardy because he's an author and now he's selling books. And so it doesn't mean everything has to be something that we pay people to do. It could be things that we involve people with who then could go ahead and run with it and do what they do best. And I think we need to make sure we stay open to that concept, that it can get a little creative.
Yeah, well, and that's like our mastermind. So when I met you, you had me come on your podcast, and then you were like, you know what, I think you need to be a part of my mastermind. And I'm like, oh, I think I do too. So I got involved in that. And now I have 2 of the people in the mastermind that I meet with accountability wise once a week and talk through things. And they literally, one's in Pennsylvania, one's in Texas, and I'm here in Oklahoma. I would have never met them had it not been for you.
Right.
And now they are integral in my business. Like, they're so important to me. I never miss that call. And so for me, it's like, wow, I can talk through things. They've gotten to know me. They've invested time in me. It's not a money thing. It's a collaboration. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's true. Not everything has to be a paid gig. That being said, leveraging other people's time and skill sets, like, for example,
you have to honor it.
Yeah. Well, and Brent, like,
if it's through financial, if it's through doing something for them, if it's it could be a lot of things, but you do have to honor them in return, whatever that looks like.
Well, Brent is for years, he would say, oh, we can't afford a bookkeeper. We can't afford a bookkeeper. And we would file our taxes in August or September every year. And I was like, we can't afford not to have a bookkeeper, because I can't keep waiting for you to get our booking done so that I can get my taxes done. And we hired one last year, and our taxes are almost ready. It's insane. And it's not even April. It's not even February.
Yeah, today's January 30th. Yeah, we're not even February 1st yet.
We're saving fees on extensions and all things, all because we went ahead and pulled the trigger. And he's so much happier not doing that. So he's actually fulfilling other things that he enjoys doing in the business. He is the operations guy, and so he does a lot of the things there, but now he can focus on the things that are important to him and doing the strategy and the growth and all the things, because we paid somebody to do this one thing, and it saved us hundreds of, I want to say thousands of dollars, just because of all the fees and all the things that we had to pay for in the past. So it's really important. It's really important that, don't do this by yourself. You don't have to.
It's huge. It's huge. And, I think he has a really good point in the book. And I want to make sure we kind of go over, because he has in here his 4 the freedoms, right? I think the book really, and reading how he's presented the who, not how principles with the concept of the 4 freedoms that we really, everybody needs, is pursuing these 4 freedoms. And I'm just going to read them off real quick, but it's the freedom of time, the freedom of money, the freedom of relationship, and then the freedom of purpose. And I love that those are the 4 pillars of us that as just humans, everybody wants. And if we don't have the freedom of time, the freedom of money, the freedom of relationship, or the freedom of purpose, then we're going to be, I'm not going to use the word miserable, but we're not going to be working within our best space, right? We very easily can be miserable.
Well, and you're not going to be effective with what you can do in other areas of your life. When there's something, like, I can't be a better mom and a better business owner and a better friend when I'm totally sucked into trying to do bookkeeping. I'd rather give birth to a camel, honestly. And so if I'm doing the bookkeeping, we're in trouble, because I have to slow my brain down to do that. And so because I have Ben, this guy's name is Ben, actually, doing that for me, now I can show up for my kids. I can show up for my friends. I can show up in ministry. I can show up. I love to antique. That's a new thing. I've always done antiquing, but now I'm actually going to start a antique booth, because I don't want my children stuck with all my stuff. So they're going to, it's like having a storage unit that people can go in and buy stuff and I make money on. So it's really fun, because I can get all of it out of my house and put it at the booth and just go up there once a week and fluff things. And then I get to thrift and write it off. But then again, And now that I have people in my life, I have time to be able to do something like that I'm passionate about. And it fills my cup 100%. And maybe not for everybody, but it's my thing. And it's something I can do when my kids leave home. I'm not going to be sitting here going, oh, what am I going to do? I'm all alone. No, I'm going to be like, hey, girl, 7 o'clock, I'm going to garage sailing every Saturday because I can flip it, make money. It'll be fun. Mm-hmm. So, but that's because I have people in my life who are making things happen so that I can fulfill my dreams, aspirations, hobbies, things that I want to do. So I'm excited. I'm just excited. It's a new purpose. So
it is. And I think because and it's not the same conversation, but I know that because you've had your loss in your life with obviously with Todd last year, and of course you were there for me when I had Jeff, when my son passed away. And they're not equal in any way, shape, or form, but they're both very tragic, and they were both very sudden, and they were both very life-changing.
Yes.
But I remember during that time just thinking that if I wasn't working, what else was I going to do? And Jeffrey didn't live at home. It wasn't one of those things where I saw him every day. Mm-hmm. It was one of those things where I saw him every week and a half to 2 weeks. We would easily get together, have dinner, lunch, whatever. We texted each other constantly. Mm-hmm. He'd be like, Mom, what do you think about these shoes with these pants? I mean, it was like a daily thing, right? But he wasn't physically in my space. But I remember thinking that as my brain was trying to process that I needed a hobby, it made me realize how I didn't have anything in my life at that point for me. Right. And that I wanted something that would be kind of I'm not going to use the word quiet space, but maybe kind of sort of like a different space, something that I could put a creative outlet into. Because I used to be very creative. I used to be very artsy. I love crafting. I love making things. I love things that I can see on the other side of it. And I think that's why I love being a business owner, is because I love it. It's for me, it's kind of crafting to some degree.
Yeah.
But I hadn't done any of that in years because I had gotten so upside down with trying to build a business and trying to be able to do all the things. But then what I realized is that I needed time to do that. And I didn't have the time to do that. Mm-hmm. And that's when I tried the service center, because I was like, okay, I need to be able to have more space. I needed time to grieve. I needed time to function. I needed time to process. And I did not do that the right way. And so that's been a process trying to figure out what that looks like. But I do believe that, and another thing that is, I used to run a lot, and I did not build my business when I was running. I don't know why, but I have this thing. I have to departmentalize things a little bit. And if I'm all business, I don't take care of myself. And so this year I'm really, really big because I have good people in place that I can say, hey, I want to do things to build me personally, not just the business. And for me, that's different. But I had to be able to build a good team, put the who's in place, so that I can go on out and I can do those things, and be at peace while I'm doing them, not being nervous, and just trusting that everything just still gets done. And that's huge.
Well, and it gives you permission. There's something about people, especially driven people. Like I am unemployable. Like I can't work for someone else. I have to work for myself because
I would agree with that.
I'm kind of rebellious. Let's just put it out there. But that being said, I need permission to do things for myself. And when I give other people space to do what they're great at, then I know what to say no to. And I know that I'm like, okay, I don't have to be all things to all people. Yeah, I'm really great at social media, but I'm not going to run your social media for your business. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's not something I can do. And I have a lot of people come, and I'll tell you, and number one, I'm going to tell you this. There is no comparison for grief. If your grief is very significant to you, just like mine's significant to me, and you can't compare just because mine was my husband and yours was your son. Like, I would be devastated if one of my kids passed. It would be devastating. You expect to lose your husband at some point or lose a spouse, but you never expect that with your kids. And grief is so debilitating. There's something called widow brain and grief brain that it literally slowed down everything in my life. Just like went like it was like
I totally agree. It almost has a soundtrack to it too, where you're just like, like somebody mentioned something. I remember just looking at them going,
huh?
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And so with that being said, they like the antiquing and doing this is actually breathing new life into me, so that I'm available to breathe life into you. Like I'm lighting a new spark for myself that's something just for me. And it gives me permission. And I even went to my partners and said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take Thursday and Friday off so I can go set up my booth. I'm going to probably take off Friday afternoon so I can go source new items and stuff. And they're like, go do you. But it relit my entrepreneur spirit in my business.
Yeah.
I was like,
and then you're refreshed when you come back to the agency,
yes,
because
so
then
much.
you have that excitement, something for yourself.
Yes,
And
so it's so
that's
fun.
huge.
It's so fun. And it was funny because yesterday I was with my bookkeeper, our CPA. He's doing my taxes, and I was telling him about this new adventure. And the name of my company is going to be called Widow's Might, MIGHT, because it's like, getting my strength back and I'm doing something for myself. And he was like, this is really intriguing to me. And he said, how do you do it? And I said, well, tell me what you think has value in this place. And he's like, this eagle. I bought this eagle for $3. That's amazing. And I Googled it and it's worth 10. And then he had this little tiny blue and white Delft house that he got from an airline 30 years ago, sitting on a shelf way up high. And I said, that. And he's like, that? He's like, that was an advertisement piece. And I pulled it down, pulled it up. It was worth like $100. He's like, what?
Oh, wow.
I have no idea. I'm like, yeah, because this is not your passion. And that's a great example because he thought it was just a trash trinket. But yeah. I know its value. So I am the who in that situation where he's like, oh my gosh, I want you to come to my house and start scanning everything. I said, well, if you donate anything, you donate it to me. Don't donate it to Goodwill. I'll take care of it for you. So, but I was laughing. But that's a who situation as well. Here he is helping me, and now I can help him realize what he has of value. And so I think it's definitely important that people understand that business is a part of your life. Yeah. But I promise you, life is going to happen to you. And when it does, you're going to have a bruised nose. It's going to hit you straight in the face. And you're going to be like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? I had to figure out how to get up in the morning. I had to figure out how to move forward. I mean, I miss my husband. I do. I miss him so much. We were married 27 years. He was a retired fireman. And he had 450 people at his funeral. It was unbelievable. Because he was such a people person. He loved people. And he'd always go after that one person. But I haven't lost him. I know exactly where he is. But he's not up there going, oh, I miss Joan. he's like, right. What? He's like, excuse me, Paul, I have a question. Like he's totally, Jesus is like, you need to go sit over there for a minute. I need a break. Questions. So this is my time. And even in business, understanding what I'm great at. And when my partners come and they're like, hey, can you handle this? Yeah, for a season. I can do it because we have a need, but we need to hire somebody for that. And right. I'm like, do we agree? And they're like, yeah, totally. I said, I'll do it for the next 2 weeks. I started helping do renewals the last couple of weeks just because it was getting crazy. Everybody wants a renewal right now. And so my team was feeling overwhelmed. So I was able to step in and do that, but it's not my forever job. I don't mind doing that, but now I'm doing the things that I'm great at. And I think it's really important that time of freedom is a big deal. The money freedom is a big deal because you can't make more money sitting in one place.
No, you can't. Or doing the same things you've always done.
No.
You know, what's the saying? If you do the same things you've always done, you're going to get the results you've always gotten, right? You've got to do something different.
Yeah. And you got to be available to that. You have to, even as a business owner, you have to have availability just to create the vision. Like every year we do a vision casting type retreat and coming up with the word for the year and the purpose for the year and stuff, but you have to have the time to be able to do that. And if you can't leave your desk because you have fear of missing out on a sale, then you need to go work for someone instead of being I'm just going to say that. I'm going to be bold. You got a job. You don't have a business. That's the real.
Well, I think and that's very true. I think one thing that Joan and I've talked about over the years, and I'm just going to share this with everybody, is that we are very different as business owners. We have different ideas, different philosophies, different ways of doing things. Yeah. And I know for me, I don't love sales. I don't love sales. Mm-hmm. I don't mind networking, but I want networking to be not sales oriented for me. Like I don't want to, for me to tack a value on it somehow makes it feel like sales to me. If I'm just out and about, if I'm just doing things and then I say, hey, call Kaylee in our commercial department. She'll get you all taken care of. Mm-hmm. For me, that's liberating. For me to be able to say, hey, I'll get you all taken care of, and yet now I've got to be at lunch with you, and then I've got to make sure I'm at your gala, and then I've got to make sure to me, that just gets to be like overwhelming. But for you, it's empowering. You love that kind of thing. And you're really good at delegate, or not delegating. I keep on using that word, but you're really good about saying, hey, call my office, call my office. But
Yeah.
I think in a lot of ways, a lot of business owners are not, hey, call my office. We're very much like, hey, I'll take care of it. And
Yeah.
over the past couple of years, since I had C players in my office, I couldn't do that because I knew that these people that I was making these relationships with would have a C experience, and that's not what I wanted.
No.
So then I had to overdo everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want to encourage people to make sure you get the right butts in the right seats in your office. It is the who, but it's also the right who. The right who has to be there. So then when I rebuilt, we started using the AccuMax program to where we do people's work styles. We brought in Danielle. Danielle's been amazing. She's very operational. She's very structured, which is great. We also brought in Bree, and Bree's very outgoing, very friendly, very bubbly. Sometimes, it's like we're all in different spaces, and Bree comes in just bubbling around, and sometimes we're like, hold on. But it's shown me that I have to have different people around me, not just about their salary, not just about their skills, but also about what they can bring to the table. And I needed people that I could just feel comfortable with by saying, hey, call Bree, hey, call Kaylee, hey, call Danielle. And I did not have those people.
Yeah.
So as we look at our who's, make sure we pick the right who's to be in the right space. Because if we pick the wrong people, we're not going to feel free to be able to do that. Yeah. And then we're not going to have that freedom of time, the freedom of money, the freedom of relationship, because I don't want to be in burden for what my team doesn't pick up if they're not the right people, if they're C players, right? I mean, there's so many aspects of that.
Well, and it's almost like you have to vet people. Employees are different than networking partners. Like, you need to really think about, like, core values are everything for me. So I'm not going to say who this person is because God knows he probably will watch this. But I had a gentleman who was known for cheating on his wife, like blatant. Come to my office and ask me to partner with him on something. And while he was talking to me, I said, well, where's your wife at? Like, why isn't your wife here? He said, she's in the car.
In the car?
Yeah, with his kids while he was meeting with me. And I said, go get your family. He goes, well, and I said, if you want me to work with you, I need to talk to your wife. And so she came in. And I was like, honey, let me tell you something. Like, you can do this. Y'all don't need me to do this. I'm going to give you permission to do this. And she is killing it now. But she just needs somebody to look at her and say, I probably wouldn't hang out here. Like, but because I was like, how dare you make your wife stay in the car? I was like, that's ridiculous. So, but it's taking it, and everybody else thinks this guy is amazing. They're like, oh. And I'm like, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. Because I know the character that's there. You can be surface, but who you are at home matters to me. And if you're like you and I have like lots of different beliefs, like, spiritual beliefs, all the things, but I know your character, and it's not about that you believe everything exactly the same way I do. I know you're going to show up and you're going to show out every single time. And I think when you're partnering with people, you need to take time before you jump into this. You don't see the big shiny and, wow, he's connected and he's got money. Yeah, well, he may have money for 5 minutes, but he's about to lose it all because his wife is going to leave him. Like, there's that, know.
Right.
You want to take the time to find out what you need. Like, don't assume the how means you need these 3 people. No, you need to figure out who you vibe with in a lot of ways. Like, are they able to really help you? And one of the things that you were missing is friendships in your office. And now you're excited about your staff and you love it. Like, I've never heard you talk this good about, I mean, your staff has always been important to you. I'm not saying, but you've always been like, struggling with this. I've never heard you say, oh, amazing team. We're good. We're set. You took the time, you found the right people, and now you can move forward. And it doesn't slow you down because you took the time and you figured out with AccuMax, what did you need? Where was your lack? For lack of better words. Like, I could do a lot of things good, but I can do these 3 things great. And I'd rather do the great stuff than do the
and they're passionate about it. Like to be able to have the same conversation 80 times a day just exhausts me, right? And for me to pick up the phone, honestly, when my phone rings, it's honestly like oh my gosh, in a lot of ways. And just because my passion is not customer service, my passion is not sales, my passion
Mhm.
is a lot more organizational, a lot more
Mhm.
operational. It's a lot more vision oriented forward. And I love that. I love pushing the business forward through systems and
Mhm.
operations and people and all the things. And I want the time to be able to, and I love a good library. I say this 1,000 times a week, but I love a good library. I love to go and just like sit down and dream and vision and take the time to do that. But I can't do that if I'm supposed to be on the phone having the same conversation I've had 80 times today,
Yeah.
and I can't have the freedom of money if I don't have the opportunity to have people who love to sell, who love to close, who love to do these things. Because I don't love to close. I don't love that. So I think for me, the availability for all that, it just gives me so much peace that the people who love the service, who love the sales, who love the
Mhm.
new business, who love the conversations, right? The people
Mhm.
who love those things are doing those things, and I
Mhm.
know they do them well because they love them.
Right.
And that's just
Absolutely.
huge for me.
Absolutely. Well, and not just that too, but like the the fact that it fuels you. You're
Yeah.
excited because they're excited. So now you're feeding off that energy and getting into what you're great at. And it's like, oh, and then you get to go back and go, look what I did. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And it's like
Yeah.
you have this whole this team. It's really a team that is working towards the same goal. And even like with referral partnerships, this is something we talked about years ago. You need to keep your circle small. Like your who's needs to be small. You don't need
Yes, it
100
does.
who's. You need to have the people who are going to be able to follow through and not are just there to take from you. They're there to give back, and then you have something to give them. And for years, I've had people come to me for networking advice, and I tell them the same thing every single time: show up for your people. Like
Yep.
Kirsten Land is a roofer that I partnered with years ago. My son is a roofer. My husband was a roofer. And I do refer them business. But if Kirsten has an event, I show up and I wingman her the whole event. And if her event's the same night as the inauguration, I go to her event. Like I don't care what it is that's happening. She's number one because she's my partner. And she shows up all the time, and she shows up for me just professionally as well as personally. Um,
Right.
so it is a matter of you choosing the people you want to run with and creating your circle and then helping them achieve what they need to achieve. And it even maybe just be a, hey, do you know a guy? Yeah, I know a guy. Let me refer you somebody. It
Yep.
doesn't mean you have to carry the ball across the deal.
Yeah, a lot of times it's just connecting the right people with the right spaces, and then they run with it on their own,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, 100%. And so you can be that who that's just a connector. That's a valuable thing for a lot of people who are single business owners that are running their hats all one one after another. So, but you can be a resource to them. And I have people who call me twice a year. Just ask one question, and I'll go, yeah, here's the answer, and they're like, got it, and I'll hear from them for the rest of the year. But if they need me, they know I'm here. So there's that.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Interesting. I love it. I love
Mhm.
it. So this is a part of kind of a series, if you will. Okay. Again, they are each standalone books. I want to make sure we're very clear on that. We are doing an episode with 10 times is, oh, so here's the deal. I started with who, not how. This
Yeah.
is all about, like we mentioned, putting the right people, the right butts in the right seats. So that way you can go ahead and achieve what you want. So that way that way you can get you where you want to go, not how can you work harder. So
Right.
that's kind of the gets here. Again, the four tenets are freedom, time, purpose, money, not in that
Mhm.
order, but that is what
Yeah.
he says in here. And I love that because that's what we're all trying to go for is those freedoms.
Yep.
Then there's another book called The Gap and the Gain. I'm
That's
not
so
through with
huge.
that one yet, but that one
Such a
is so good so far.
no
Just
God.
all about measuring yourself against yourself, not looking beyond at all the things that,
No comparisons.
yeah, that other people have or other people are
Mhm.
doing or whatever. Don't think of yourself as so far. Just look at where you're going, measure against yourself, and then go there and then go where you want to go. And then the third book, again, they're not specifically in an order, but a lot of people feel like this is a great physical mindset for you to be able to get to where you can really
Absolutely.
be open for the third book
Sure.
is 10 times is easier than 2x, or 10x is easier than 2x.
Yes.
And that is really just about how to exponentially grow forward because you need to do the who, not how. You need to do the gap and the gain. And then the 10 times is easier than 2x, or 10x is easier than 2x. I
Tongue
keep on
twister.
wanting to do times, but I don't do it the right
Yeah.
way. But anyway, the point is that they grow and ultimately they make you the amazing professional that you need to be, whether or not you're in sales, whether or not you're in account
Yes.
management, if you're working for corporate, if you're
You're
running
staying mom
marathons,
homeschool. Like,
whatever it is, if you want to
yeah.
start a thrifting business, whatever it is,
Yes. Well,
it gets you where you want to go.
I have a friend who's a mom and she homeschools. She had 4 kids. She homeschooled every single one of her kids. Her house is immaculate. Wow. I don't know how she does it. I tell her husband all the time, I said, do you know how lucky you are? Because I would marry her if I could, because she's amazing. But that being said, she took her kids to a co-op. And there were other people who were really good at algebra. And so they'd teach all the kids algebra. And then she would teach all the kids English. And somebody else would teach all the kids history because she wasn't good at algebra. So even in those situations,
what a good example.
Yeah, and it's like we think we have to do it all, or I'm a failure. It's like, no, you're a failure if you quit trying. That's number 1. You're always a failure if you quit trying. And number 2, if you ask enough questions, you'll find an answer. Like if you ask enough people, hey, how do you do that? How do you do that? How do you do that? You're going to find something that works for you, and then you can apply it to the who. It's like, okay, well, who do you use? Who do you use? And then you can create new relationships that will take you next level. And it's not about making all the money. For some people, money is a driver. For most women, it's more purpose driven than it is money driven. But money gives you the ability to do your purpose.
That's true. So, you have to have money generally to be able to do whatever your purpose is, right?
Yeah. And don't settle for less money, because you can leverage the relationships to make more money. And then what could you do with that money? Like, I'm starting a thrifting, an antique booth, and I'm going big. I spent $3,000 in the last week just going and getting all my stuff for the booth. But I'm like, you know what? Go big or go home. I've started a business before. I know that waiting to buy that thing isn't going to make this grow faster. Like, I'm going to have everything in place to move forward. And the antique mall I'm using, they're a who. They are so a who.
That's true.
They man the booth. They man the whole place. And so when people purchase, they gave me an inventory system. So I can just put my stuff in there, barcode. They print out the stickers for me to label everything. I just have to literally go in there and refresh my inventory every once in a while. And that's it. And it's like, park and play. But I get to do the fun parts. I don't want to do the inventory part. I don't want to remember what I have. But they have everything on a spreadsheet, on an app. I don't have to do nothing, and it doesn't cost me any extra. Like, it's all part of the business. So, and the booth rent's a write-off. So, I mean, there's things that you need to understand about what you do and how you could do it next level. And yeah, insurance is my gig. It's what I do. I've been doing insurance for so long. I don't know what I would do, but this is something for me that's fun. But there's other things I want to do. I want to write books. I want to, I'm actually participating in a book about insurance with like 30 other authors right now. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. So, and it's through Kyle Draper, actually. It's his Rethink series. So that's coming soon. Just be ready for that. So I'm able to do more things because I have the who's in place for me to be able to fulfill my purpose and to be able to help more people. How many people can I help if I write a book about insurance? Numerous people, like thousands of people, because that's what I do in my daily job with Smart Choices. I help people start insurance companies. Now I literally can go to them and go, here, I wrote a book on it. Here you go. Like, how awesome is that?
You literally wrote the book, right? On how to be able to do it.
Yeah. So just bigger picture here. When your takeaway, if you have a takeaway, remember collaboration is really important. That it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be enough. People don't know what you know. So to them, you're the smartest person in the world when it comes to what you do.
Yep.
So just give yourself some grace, make all the mistakes, because mistakes actually make you a better person. In fact, get excited about the mistakes, because that's how you grow. I didn't know that I couldn't do something until I tried it. And I was like, oh, I suck at that. So let me see who I know who can do it. So, but take your time, read this book, listen to it on Audible, take your pieces out of it and chew on it. Call Teresa or email Teresa here at the show if you have questions or anything and you want to ask. She's got a ton of people that she has who's in every state, people. I'm telling you, in the insurance industry, she's kind of your girl. She runs a group. She's your girl. So if you want to know someone or know something, she probably knows somebody who can help you. So leverage this podcast. Go back and listen to all her other episodes. That's a
I
who
love it.
right there for sure.
Exactly.
Yes. So
Exactly. I love it. And we do. We've had so many people on. Get the resources you need to be, if you love business coaching, there's tons of resources out there.
yes.
There are physical business coaches, but then there's also classes you can take. There are podcasts you can listen to. There's systems you can subscribe to. There's
YouTube.
conferences you can go to. I mean, yeah, join Facebook groups,
Yeah.
get your who's, but get them.
Get them.
That's really what it is.
Be an influencer, find an influencer. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So share what you have and receive from other people, because it's going to make your life so much better. So,
well,
so very good.
Well, with that, Joan, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for talking about this book. We have literally been planning on doing this for almost a year. I think we talked about being able to do this series like a year ago, and then of course life got in the way. And but I am thankful that you are open to it and that you came to talk to me about it. And thank you for inviting me to be able to read the book back 2 years ago, because it definitely has been a big game changer for me. So I appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much. And I love you. And I'm excited to see what God's going to do in your life, because you are literally, you've grown so much in the last couple of years. It's just insane. So
it's been a lot.
Keep your eyes on her. Keep your eyes on her. See some things happen. So, but thanks for having me.
I appreciate you. Well, I love you very much. So. All right, everybody. This has been another amazing episode of the Power Women in Insurance podcast, where we talk to amazing women about what makes them tick. How are they doing business? How are they surviving business? How are they surviving the market? How are they growing their business? How are they making a difference in our community? So today we've been with Joan Curtis with MVP Insurance in Oklahoma. So definitely check her out if you have any questions. Joan, if people want to talk to you, how can they reach out to you?
Well, that's a really great question. I'm not giving anybody my phone number.
No, absolutely not.
Actually, they can go to insuremvp.com. So that's INSURE, M as in Mary, V as in Victor, P as in Paul, means most value possible. So insuremvp.com, and they can request for me to reach out to them there, because we have a request place there on our website. So that'd be a great place to get plugged in.
I love it. I love it. And Joan is amazing. She's been doing this for a while in different venues, and she has built an amazing agency as well. So just reach on out if you guys have any questions. Everybody, thank you so much for taking the time to be able to invest in yourself, in us, and being able to make this industry better every single day. My name is Teresa Kitchens. Thanks for letting me be able to take up a little bit of your time today, and join us every single Wednesday as we talk to another amazing woman inside the insurance space. Everybody, have a great week.